Alright, after that pause in the action, I had a chance to work some more. Now what I did, after pausing, I went ahead and sprayed a little workable fixative. Okay. I'll do it again right now while we're talking. So I was able to adjust her proportions. I've got the suit a little closer to the way I want it. It fits the body. I may have aged this person a little from a 18 or 20-year-old to maybe a 30-year-old by broadening the proportions a little bit. And one of the things I started to do, if you can see over in the edge of the body here, in the arm, I went ahead and began to create a sharper edge by working the negative space. To show you more clearly, I took some of the green and some of the blue, and once again using the flat side as I rested one edge against the edge of the arm. It pulled across. Here it pulled across. I'm going to do it with some of the white. It's the only white I have, so I don't want to break it. See? I laid it right against the edge of the arm and I pulled out. And that sharpens the edge. I'm going to do it down here. Air conditioner went on, always something. Yeah, that was a quick passing little hailstorm earlier. Since subsided. Alright, so you can see she looks a little cleaner edged here. I started doing it to the other side, and so what I want to do now is show you, now that that fixative has a chance to dry, it's just, I'm going to turn it upside down because it feels more comfortable if I can do it by moving in this direction. So once again, I'm going to look at the arm. I'm going to lay it, whoops, I'm going to move my clips to the top. That way I can get to not move from here and pull. Right to the edge and pull. Right to the edge and pull. And you can see the edge is getting, I've also got a little short facet there. That gives me a chance to get into a tighter space. And I can chisel out a cleaner boundary now. I can also pull that around the edge. Pull out. You'll see that I'll get a little more clarity even in her hand by making the edge of it more distinct by working the negative space. Okay, now here it gets a little trickier because I don't have a lot of room there to work, but I can still do the same thing. I'm going to start by going into the edge of her suit and pulling this way. I'm going to use the shorter flat side. Kind of give me a little edge. I also noticed there's a little of her hair that falls on her shoulders also actually shows between her arm and her torso right in here. So I've filled that in with a little of the hair. I've also clarified the shoulder and around the head. So now her head is turned in a downward position. So it makes it a lot easier to create the kind of quality that I'm wanting to show. Her hand is cupped and curved. So let me clarify go. So now we got a nice clear torso and arms. Now, one thing I wanted to show you is you come to something like what's going on in her face is tilted downward, and looking at the image, her head is also tilted this way. So it's not two eyes right there. Her eye is here and a little off the edge because her head is turned. I'm not going to use the actual pastel stick. What I did is I went ahead and took a little of the a little black and put it on the edge of a Q-tip, and I'm just going to darken this spot right here and one right there. And that's going to be a suggestion of her eyes and eye sockets looking downward. And there's a little trace of her nose that I'm also going to carve out. Okay. Now, if you have a blending stick, you can also use the corner of the blending stick. Or, if you have a real steady hand, I'm also going to come back and add a tiny curve right in there. See that? And that turns her head in one direction. There's also an accentuated edge right in the side of her face. Right there. That is the bottom of her jawline. And I'm going to soften that, you see, with a little of the Q-tip right there. And her chin does slightly overlap the red. I need to make the red just a little cleaner in there. Do that. We're going to bring this around a little higher and bring it over like that. Okay. So now I've got a suggestion of her head, her upper torso. What I need to do next is to clean and do the same thing with carving out the arms, but do it down here in the leg area. And I also want to get this color down here a little more neutral or sand color like, so that we get a suggestion of where the water edge is. And I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other side. I'm going to lay this kind of off-white and pull it from her leg over. See, and it begins to carve out the boundary. And makes that leg a little more crisp. Okay. I think I should also perhaps add, I'm going to do it the same way I did a second ago with the black. I'm going to take a little brown and just a little darker brown right at the top of her thigh to indicate shadow in the back, and add a little black to it. And make that separation between the suit and her leg a little clearer. Soften that with a little of the sand color. Bring a little pale color here to the front part of her thigh, which is catching light. Also the front part of her shin catches light. So now I need to distinguish the sand color from the edge of her shin. And of course the sand is very pale. Move it along the edge and move it left to right. Same way with the back. Create a boundary with the edge. And pull back. Edge and pull back, edge and pull back, edge and pull back, edge and pull back, edge and pull back. See, and then her legs begin to distinguish themselves with more definition. I'll do the same thing over on this side here. Okay. I should use flat facet. There we go. use my finger. I'm going to steal some of this blue and green from over in here and also place it right in this area. And what I can do is just use my finger. So you go from one technique in which it's suggested that it's a no-no to blend to another technique in which, you know, it's okay to blend a little. So that's what I'm doing now, because this is a much looser, more painterly approach to dealing with the application of Pastel. It doesn't have to be saturated into the surface of the drawing. There we go. And here again, I'm going to work a little blue into that. A little blue and green in here, just to get that water's edge more distinct. Alright, so I'm going to finish this off. I'll let you begin. I'm going to send you several images of people on the beach that you can use. If you don't want to use her, I'll have another 2 or 3 images that I'm going to send. You know, we need to do at least one for your portfolio. You may decide to take off and do more than one because this approach suits you better. And before I leave you, I'm going to take and try to even this sand color out and also show you that one of the interesting things that's happening here, I don't really see her feet, so I think she has them in the sand, and there's a shadow at the bottom of her body, and there's just a faint trace of her feet shape, and they're partially covered with water because there's water in here. And I think once I spray this, what I'm going to do is to use a real light touch over the top so it leaves a ragged edge like this, so that it can look like there's water running over her feet. But there is a shadow down here. We use a little blue, it's kind of odd shaped like this, and it's probably a very general shape of her body as she's standing. It kind of runs into her feet a little there and wiggles around. And I'm going to take a little of the white and a little of the sand color, and I'm going to work some of it in here and then lightly, just lightly go over it to soften it, and take a little of the white and go over it as well. Okay. It's not a very dark shadow. I can hit it once again. And it'll be a way of ending. I still may pull a slight suggestion of a foot right through that shadow. I will take a snapshot of it and send it to you when I'm done, just so that you can see that. I might also even use a little blue. I'm also going to come back and maybe spend some time kind of indicating a little of that pattern that's in this part of the suit, the top part, to also help distinguish and separate the little skirt part here, so that it adds a little more detail to her clothing. Alright, so I'm going to post this and then you can get started. Remember, you got 2 pastels to do. You got one using the belabored technique. This one here, remember, this technique is quite different. Remember to look at the PowerPoint I'm going to send you first. This one's been sprayed, okay, with some fixative. Just remember, if you're going to go buy fixative, there's 2 kinds. There's the kind that you use while you're working. It's called workable fixative. Okay, it allows you to add additional work. And you can see that when I sprayed it here, pick it up. And you want to spray it from a distance, right? You don't want to gob it on. That's sufficient. Let it dry for, like 4 or 5 minutes, and then you can start working on it. And whatever I have here is not going to loosen. So it really helps when you're trying to do stuff like this, like even out the color. And this stuff, when it's not sprayed, it's going to keep mixing, and then it's going to take you longer time to complete it. Now there's another one that they sell. It's called a final fixative, and when you're done, you spray the drawing to protect it. And even with that, you spray lightly, because if you spray too close, what it can do is the petroleum product in the spray can eat particles of the pastel, and then it'll take some of the color intensity out. And you also run the risk of seeing a speckled quality that looks like bits of your pastel have been soaked up. So remember, always from 12 to 14 inches away, and spray lightly and generally. Never keep it in one spot, because that'll put too much down in one area, and then it'll show as a spot in the drawing that won't ever evaporate. So just remember, there's two kinds. Okay. Now, you've heard people say, well, you can use hairspray. Hairspray can work as a final, but don't try to use it as a workable fixative, because it won't hold any of the pastel you put on top of it. One of the problems with using hairspray is hairspray has water in it. So the water and paper, what do you think is going to happen to the paper? It will cause it to curl up. So if you use it, one thing you have to remember is, before you spray the pastel side, flip it over and spray the back of it with some of that hairspray, and then flip it over and spray the drawing side. That way both sides get the moisture, and then it won't curl up. It might be slightly buckled, like it was wet but dried flat, but it won't curl up in one direction, because now the moisture is pulling on both sides, and then of course the only way to go is flat. Alright, so just a couple of words about fixative. Alright, so we'll catch you. This is the last project for the course. Okay, and I think you're going to have a great portfolio. 10 drawings sent to me via PowerPoint. The critiques that I've sent you, I sent you as a way of commenting on what you can still do to improve things, so that you can spice the drawings up before the final turn-in of work. And I'm going to give you till 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock on Friday, this Friday, 6 p.m. to turn in the 10 drawings. Please use the PowerPoint format. It just makes it easier for me to look at. And then I'll do another narrated critique and give you your grade. Alright, the grades are due by Tuesday, so I'll try to get them done by Sunday or Monday for sure. Okay. Don't forget, I'm also teaching 12 students in drawing 1, so they'll be turning in twice as many drawings, 20. So that's going to take a while. I'll try to do yours first, the drawing 2, and take care of that. But keep the good hard work up, and we'll talk to you. If you have any questions, email me. All right. So there'll be no more assignments. I think if you do the pastels and you want some feedback, send me images and I'll comment on them so you can still doctor them up. Okay? All right. Thank you.